let's jump into it. So today we're going to be doing part three. Oh, hey, hey, Maple. Awesome. Thank you, Maple, for saying hi. Glad that you're here. Awesome. Love seeing so many people. All right, let's jump into it. So today we're doing episode three of our Rise Village to Capital series. In the last episode, our humble village turned into a town. Today, our town is going to turn into a thriving city, and we're going to try to make our city kind of look epic. We're going to give it depth. We're going to go over lore. We're going to talk about placement of blocks. There's so much that we're going to be covering in this series. So in this episode. So I'm super excited about that. Let's kind of go over our checklist here. First, we're going to build a wall. You know, after so many skirmishes and so many marauders and people attacking the wall, catching it on fire, our town is going to decide to upgrade our wall and make it out of stone so it'll be more durable. It will stand the test of time. Then we're going to build our government building, right? As more populations grow, you need to create some kind of laws and institutions to enforce them to incentivize people to do the right thing. Then we need to expand infrastructure, as well as so more crops 3 and 4 are going to be together. Hey, Alice, I'm glad that you're here. Oh, there's a raid going on. Thank you so much, Starlight AFR. Glad that you're here. Hi, iKnight. Awesome. I love it. So many people saying hi. This is so sweet. Thank you again for the raid. Really appreciate it, Starlight. And hey, Commander Bond. By the way, I'm so glad that you're enjoying the series. So we're going to be... Oh, hey. Hey, Starlight AFR. I see that it's your first time chatting, so hi. Thank you. Welcome. Glad that you're here. And thank you again for the raid. So then after we kind of go over our infrastructure, which is going to be both crops, the kind of infrastructure needed to build the city further up, as well as a more established dockyard and docks. Hey, Marco Gravyman, another raider. Welcome. Glad that you're here. Thank you so much. And then we're going to add a religious building. I had mentioned in the blurb, in the description of the stream, that a new religion's going to rise and it's going to change the fate of this city forever. And then also we're going to show you how to create depth in the last one. Oops, that's supposed to say 6, but that says 3 there. We have 2 3s here. Isn't that fun? We're going to create these. If you see here in the last one, we've kind of used these blocks to create platforms, so to give the sense of depth to the city. I'll show you how to translate this into watercolor battle maps, because I see a lot of people complain about their maps, not necessarily complain, but they point out that their maps, thank you, Silver DM, they notice that their cities are kind of flat. And so the secret to that is to kind of create these sense of platforms and to add stairs. And that will start to give your city this sense of depth to it, because without these kind of platforms and stairs, it's really hard to tell what parts of the city are higher and lower than the others. So I'll show you how to do that. So I'm excited about that. Let's go ahead and look over what we created here. In our last one, we had our town. We have a market that's kind of in the center of the town here. It expanded. We made a composite. We made our own town hall here. And our current kind of government structure is like an elder council that basically makes decisions for the town. It's not super huge, a big town, so it doesn't need this complex structure sense of governance. But as it develops and becomes a city, then those governmental structures and institutions will grow and become bigger and define more about what you can and can't do within that town. So the first thing on the checklist is we're going to build that wall. And since when we already built our wall using the shape tool, that's really, really helpful, because all we have to do is just change the stroke and then change some of the stamps that represent those towers. And then we're also going to have to change our gate houses as well. Right now, the wall is made of wood. So if you have a lot of objects in your right layer panel here where it says village here, you can go up to the very top, select all, and then switch over to where it says shapes. And then the only shape I have on this layer is this wall. So that's perfect. Then I can go over to the left after I've selected it and then just select a wall that I like. And what I'll do is I think I'll choose this massive castle wall. What it has like this wooden wall walk or ramparts, and we'll make sure to put that part on the inside. So we'll select that and choose that. And I might want to consider also changing the scale a little bit. Let me just zoom in and see how it looks. Let's flip so that the wooden parts are on the inside. Those are the ramparts. And then we'll also maybe just bring the scale up just a little bit to make it feel like a little more imposing. I think that looks good. Let's do that. And then also what I'm going to end up doing is I'm also going to choose a fill, because what will happen to this city is that we don't need to have individual roads with textures anymore. We're going to take the rock from this quarry right here, and we're going to pave the entire top part of this hill. And in that way, we're going to find new ways of creating roads by using the negative space from those platforms. So let's go ahead and do that. So first, I want to make sure that I have that big shape selected. I'm going to choose fill. Right away, what you'll notice is that the fill will probably cover some of the stamps. It might cover some things. That's okay. What you want to do is just make sure that the fill is on the right layer. First, we'll pick the right type of fill, and I'm going to choose this street stones right here because everything is paved. And I'm obviously going to have to change the scale as well. So I'll bring that scale down quite a bit. And really what the way to decide the size of the stones is just to look at the size of the buildings, right? If it was this size right here, the stones are massive. But what we want to do is maybe make the stones kind of a little bit smaller. I'd say about 20, in between 20 something, I think will work well. And then we'll also want to go into the advanced options and just go down a couple layers. And since this wall is on the village layer in the right layer panel, it won't hide, the terrain won't bleed up through the fill itself because it's on a whole separate object layer. So that'll be really helpful there. So now that we have that, now I don't have to worry so much about where to put my roads because every bit is paved. Again, we're going to use the negative space created by platforms and city blocks to actually form that. So after we've kind of done that part, we want to upgrade a couple things. One, we're probably going to want to use a stone kind of fortified structure for our gatehouses. So we'll just go ahead and choose right here. We have these red gatehouses. Let's do the closed gatehouses. I'll stick with red. And I do believe the right size is 80. So we'll go to 80 here. I'll flip, I'll rotate, and I'll go ahead and just place this right here. I'll probably move things a little bit. One thing that you're going to notice is that as you're adding more to your town to become a city, you will have to make adjustments. You will have to move stamps. You will have to do those kind of things. And that's okay. The one thing that you want to do is you want to keep some of the old town so that way you can keep some of its structure, but we are going to reorganize some of the blocks because things are going to change from a town to a city. There's going to be whole new things that we want to add. A center for religion, for economics, for markets, for our government, all that stuff. So we'll have to cover that. So now that we've got that one, we can just copy and paste that and bring it right over to here. And I'll just go ahead and delete that and then place this one here. And I think 80 seems a little on the big side, so I think I'll just bring it down just a little bit more. I just want to bring the scale down. It's okay if you don't follow the scale exactly. What's helpful is to at least try to follow it loosely. So if you're using scale 80 and something looks a little bigger at 80, it's okay to go down to 70, 65. Just be careful because once you start getting drastic different scale sizes with your stamps, it becomes really obvious because with this style, the line work for these stamps is really thick. So the bigger that these stamps get, the line work really gets to pop out, and that really starts to look really weird. And when you follow the rules of art, you'll notice that what this does is it creates the lightest light against the darkest dark, those light parts of the stamp, and then the dark, thick outline. The eye is going to directly go to that, and you might not want those stamps to draw the eye. You might want to be a little more specific about where you want the eye to be drawn from, right? So kind of remember that. So now that I've done that, I can select every single one of these stamps right here. These are these wall sections. I can just go to select all from this set like this. I'm going to go to replace asset. And then what I'll do is I'll choose some castle pieces. Now, when you do the replace, if I select the stamp set itself, this little icon right here, it will do it randomly. But if I click show and then expand all of that in the set, I can just select the individual one that I want to use. So I'm going to use this circular fortification. There we go. So now all of my wall pieces all of my towers have been replaced. Oh, sorry I missed you first time, Chatter Firebox. I'm glad that you're here, by the way. Thank you so much. I appreciate And what I'll do is I'm going to add some couple walls here. One thing that you'll notice with the shape and line tools is sometimes some segments look a little weird. You can always just hide those mistakes by adding in a wall tower. That's what I would recommend doing. So if you see a little mistake, just go ahead and fix that. That works fine. That looks good. I think this is looking good. I think most of those pieces are put together. So I think the wall section is pretty much done. We can go ahead and move on to that next part. Let's go check the checklist. And we want to add our government building. There's a little bit of pre-work that we might want to put in before we get started on that, though. So I'll go ahead and turn that checklist back off, and we'll go back in. One of the things that I can do is probably remove some of the trees and bushes. Just select one, then go to the hamburger menu, select all from the set. Just go ahead and delete that right away. Then I'll go and select one of these trees, select all from the set, and just delete all the trees. And what's left, you'll notice, is kind of the series of these. I'll go ahead and bring the opacity down on that one, or it brings this one down the right layer. There we go. Okay. Just want to make sure some of that path right there was overlapping into the inside. So what I want to do is I'll probably keep some of the town original structures. Like I might keep some of this infrastructure pieces. I'll probably do this. But what I'll end up doing whenever you're trying to build a larger city, what I find helpful is to throw in the most important points of interest first. So that's going to be like, what is the center of your religion? Is there going to be a cathedral, a temple? What buildings are you using for government, parliament? So when you start adding in all the most important points of interest first, then you can start to fill in the negative space, what's left with residential, because that's what's going to really give your city the population boost. Or if let's say that you want to create a massive city, it's those residential buildings that are going to give you that high population count. So if you start with all your infrastructure and all your important points of interest first, you can then fill in with all of that. So I've done most of my cleanup. What I'll probably end up doing is removing some of this stuff. Like I can get rid of these windmills. All windmills are going to be relegated to the farming district down here. All the space up here needs to be used for residential and all that infrastructure. All right, so let's go ahead and choose that government building. And what I find very, very helpful is to look up these buildings called C Special. That's not really going to work there. Special. And right here, you'll notice that there are these specialty stamps right here. These work great for infrastructure, whatever kind of specialty districts or blocks you're trying to create. And I'll go ahead and turn the names on so you can kind of see them as well. Let's go with show names over here, show names. You can see them all. Just keep in mind that you don't have to use each one of these stamps exactly as they're labeled, right? For instance, this university right here, it doesn't have to be a university. This could be something else. It could be a government building, like a parliament building or something like that. And that's okay to use that, right? So we'll go back to 80 here, and we're just going to place it here. And I think this will work as a good government building. And up until this point, our town was small enough to where it didn't need major institutions to enforce laws. It had a small council of elders who had already had some lived experience with what had happened to the original village. They were refugees that kind of settled in this area. It was a nice place. It had good soil. It was a nice place to do a settlement as they were escaping the war. And so that lived memory kind of exists through the through this town council. But as the city begins to grow, right, as you begin to flourish through getting what's called abundance, and as your crops yield more and you get more and more, this concept of, like when you have a lot, this concept of greed kind of comes up. When you have more than what you need, it seems to spur that kind of behavior. And so what we want to do is create this government system where we want to incentivize the citizens of this settlement to do the right thing, right? And that's kind of what government and laws are for, to incentivize, to let people do the right thing. Without laws, people might just do whatever they want to do. So this government building is going to play a role in that, but there is an important event that's going to take place in this city that's going to change it, and that is a new religion is going to form, and it's going to come around the form of this abundance as more and more more and more crops, more and more trade begins to occur, and there's a lot more excess, some groups of people will try to exploit and get more for themselves instead of trying to share it with everyone else. I'm going to put that into the lore of our city, and it's important to throw in some form of conflict into the lore of your settlement, because conflict is really that juicy bits that makes the town, the city's history so much more interesting. Even as your players arrive at the city, you're going to want to create some form of conflict that's going to draw the players to that. So we'll be sure to throw that in there. Right now, what we're going to have is that most of the people are going to decide that they want to have some kind of parliament system in which there are different groups of people, and each one is represented by people in a representative type of government. And for now, that will have to sustain the town until other events take place. So I'll throw this university right here, which will technically be our town hall, and I'm going to place it probably up against the wall right about here. I think is a good location, and I don't mind moving things a little bit. That's okay. That's our first bit, our government structure. Then I'll also want to expand our infrastructure. So I'm going to want to go to my specialty buildings and probably grab some of those. And what we'll do is, now that it's a city, we can use the larger structures, because there's really two variations. You have like the smaller type of masons structure, and then you have like the bigger ones. So you have like a fighters guild and then a bigger fighters guild. Let's use the bigger ones to kind of show that the infrastructure is growing. So we'll take the larger merchants guild and we'll place that just right against the wall here as well. So we'll put these important pieces here, put one there, put one there. I'll even adjust and kind of move some of these blocks out of the way, just to kind of get the major infrastructure in there. I want to make sure the scale is right. 80, that looks good. That looks good. I'm going to go back, grab a couple more infrastructure. We're going to want to have things like maybe an artisans guild of some kind. Is there a larger one? The big artisans guild looks good. Let's use a red one. And I think I'll do a red one for this one as well, just to kind of stick with the same kind of color scheme. There we go. Let's go ahead and place that right there like that. And then I'll place that Adventurers Guild right here like this. Let me make sure it's kind of facing the right way. Okay, that looks good. This looks good. The government structure is there. Let's go ahead and move some of these structures out of the way, and then we'll readjust some of our blocks. That looks good. Let's go back into that catalog, grab a couple more. There's a Thieves Guild, Temples. Let's go ahead and use our big Mages Guild. That'll be a nice touch. It doesn't even have to be a mages guild. It can be another type of guild. Remember, you can always change it to whatever you want it to be. You don't have to follow whatever the title is. You can call it whatever you want. All right, so I think I'm kind of grouped. Notice that I've kind of grouped the government and infrastructure. They're all kind of close to each other. Yeah, I really enjoy the Mages Guild as well. I think it's beautiful, and I use it for all sorts of things as well. It doesn't have to be a Mages Guild. And then what I can do here is I'll go ahead and let me just go through the list of the other infrastructure buildings that I have. I don't really know if I need a Thieves Guild, because there is a lot of abundance so far. I guess with that abundance, we could say there's a Thieves Guild. So let's throw that in. But let's move this a little further, like away. Like maybe somewhere over here would be a better choice, kind of away from the infrastructure. So we'll just move that out of the way there. I'm going to retain some of these blocks right here, and the other ones I'll just completely change. I can remove some of the smaller infrastructure buildings, remove that town hall, continue to remove those windmills. Don't need that infrastructure anymore. This one I'll remove, this mason. Let's remove those. Okay, that looks good. Until most of those specialty buildings is gone, because we're going to restructure the city to where all that every most important parts of the city are going to be grouped together. That way, people don't have to walk all over different parts of the city to kind of see these things. So we'll go ahead and add that part. I think, let me just look at the last bits here. Why don't we throw in maybe a library? Well, actually, we'll save that for the capital. Let's save that for a capital. Let's add in a couple inns. And what I'll end up doing is I'll probably create like an arc of buildings going that way. Let me just make sure that my scale is right. This looks... Let's go and bring that down just a little bit in scale. It seems a little big. I'll put that in just right across from here. That looks good. Okay. Major infrastructure done. In the checklist, I believe the next one is we want to add in a religious building. All right, we'll go back, and then I'll kind of go over a little bit what's going to kind of happen with the religion, because with, like I was saying before, with that abundance came this idea of more than what you need, and some people are going to want to take advantage of that. They're going to want to have more for themselves instead of sharing with everyone else, and that is when the conflict is going to grow here. A few people are going to try to benefit, to try to make the most out of the abundance that the city is beginning to develop, and they're going to be greedy, and they're going to try to use that wealth and try to create power, and they're going to forge a religion. It's going to kind of worship wealth and make them look like they're the most important people. They're the ones that sustain the city, when really all they do is just pay hired thugs to beat up everyone else. So we're going to add this kind of conflict of wealth and poor into this kind of city, and then that will play a large role in how our capital will develop as well. All right, so we'll go ahead and add in that temple. I'm trying to see, we can use this big church right here. This will work good. And I'll go ahead and place this over here like this. Let's maybe have it face this way right here. Okay, just want to get my curves right. Why don't we have this be right here? So there's a little bit of a curve kind of going on here. This section creates like a curve. Let's build it up right here like this. Put that here. This looks good. All right, I've added all those major infrastructure parts. Let me go ahead and check the checklist here. Religious building suite. We're not going to go to depth yet. We're going to actually, let me just take a look here. We're going to go ahead and start filling in we're going to start to add some crops. And then we're also going to build upon our dockyard here. Right now, we just have this small kind of dockyard right here. Oh, that was interesting. This small dockyard right here. And we kind of want to expand that. And we're probably going to want to fortify it in a way where it's mostly made of stone, so that way if the river floods or anything like that, it won't damage the buildings themselves. That foundation will protect that. So let's go ahead and do that little bit of infrastructure, add in the crops, and then we'll start to show you how I fill in residential areas once you put in your major kind of structures here. So let's go ahead and start here. I'm going to just go ahead and remove a lot of these things, and I'll go ahead and just move this stuff out of the way. I'm going to go back to my terrain and kind of remove this stone. As you know, if you want to add stone to create the foundations for this shipyard, you're going to have to go ahead and find a rock quarry. As you know, there's rocks everywhere. So we're going to remove all those rocks. In fact, we'll cut down some trees as well here. In fact, we'll just remove all of the trees because this is all going to end up being crop. Now, just something about crops, just to kind of mention this, is that you don't have to have enough crops to feed everybody when you have a large city like this. You have to have some crops to feed a majority of the people, but then you also can use trade, commerce, mercantile ventures to provide the other food sources. There's also a river here, so there's a lot of abundance in this section. But once a city gets so big, it no longer can sustain itself without some form of trade or without expansion of some kind. So we'll have to throw in a bunch of crops down here, and we'll expand a little bit of the farmers and the bit of the dockyards here. So we'll make those changes, which will be good. So let's go ahead and throw in the crops first. Go back to my village layer. I'm going to go ahead and just remove these. We'll create a whole other kind of town section here. Let's go ahead and create our foundation here. So we're going to use a particular shape. I'm going to use this platform stroke. It's called platform, so super easy to find. And then I'm also going to use a particular fill. I'm going to use stone floor. What I'll do first is I'll use the pen, and I'm just going to show you what it looks like, so you can see. Press enter. There you go. And when you do this, what you want is that shadow bit. That's that darker gray section. It needs to be facing outward. So if you go right below scale, you'll see a little flip stroke vertically. Flip that, and you'll notice that darker gray, those are the shadows of the platform to make it look like it's raised up. So now that we've done that, we can go back to shape, and we can go ahead and create the shape that we want. So I'll probably just follow a little bit along here. Let's make the shape a little bit more interesting by adding some things here. And then I'll have it go outward. And then what I can do from here is I can create a couple of, I could create maybe one pier that's made of stone. So I'll go ahead and put this out here like this. Make sure I kind of get that right. Press enter. Add. There we go. So there's that first part. We'll go ahead and use this. Let's go ahead and rotate this a little bit. Put it right there like that. That looks good. I'll go ahead and remove these. There's a little platform here. Then I'll go back into my docks. We'll use these long wooden docks. Let's go with 80. I'm just going to go ahead and place these docks kind of like this along here so that boats, ships can kind of get in. So I'll put one maybe run right here, right here. If you don't like it that way, you can go like this. So you can fit more if you want, like that. Fit a little bit more boats. In fact, why don't we grab a ship just so we can get a sense of scale. So here's a ship here. That's 80. Cool. Now that I kind of get a sense of the shape, the size, that's going to be helpful. I can go ahead and copy paste. Add another one here. There we go. So now I have these nice, a much larger shipyard where you have more ships. So that's going to be helpful. So we've got that. Why don't we also maybe put some shipyards on there? I think there's a shipyard right here. Why don't we remove some of the docks and put that shipyard just right here, right on top, just like this. So we have that shipyard there. And then we kind of have room for the boats there. That looks good. Okay, I think that fits. And if you want, we can also throw in docks going this way if you want. That's up to you. Another one here if you want. That's up to you. I think this will be enough for right now. We could put another dock that maybe travels. I wonder if their docks are in the shape. Let me check here. Can I find it in the line tool? I see scaffolding here, but not necessarily a dock. Let me type in dock, see if we have it. We do. Great. Cool. This is great. And then I can go in with the line tool like this, and I'll just create like this wooden dock that just kind of goes along here. That looks good. I'm also going to turn off the shadows for now. There we go. Now there's more room. Let's make sure get the scale right too. About that size looks good. And then I can copy and paste and then put in my other docks like this. There we go. Now I have lots of room for ships. Copy paste, put another one in right about there. Looks good. There we go. Then I can kind of put my ships in like this. There we go. Want to make sure there's plenty of room. There we go. Why don't we use some different ships so they're not all the same as well? Let's use that one. Use another one right here. And then we can also place like a bunch kind of going along this way. That looks good. These are ships. These are larger ships. And then we'll also type in boats as well. There's a boat. Perfect. And we're going to put a lot of these down because this is going to represent our fishing for our fresh fishing infrastructure. So I'm going to group them like this so that as if they're look like they're all kind of lined up in a way to like trap fish with their nets. We'll probably put a couple over here like this. Maybe we'll add a little bit of curvature like that. Same thing here. I'll probably put some over here like this. And then we could throw some just randos, just randomly all about here like this. There we go. That looks good. So now we have a kind of burgeoning fishing industry kind of coming together. And then on top of that, we're probably going to want to add some other things like maybe some infrastructure that's going to be going there. So why don't we grab these individual buildings? That looks good. Let me see. What is this? Small red buildings. Do I have those in here? No, let's just go with red. There we go. Small red buildings. Perfect. We'll use these. Go up a layer, and I'll just kind of line some buildings like this. There we go. That looks good. Let's put that in the corner like that. Put one right there. And I don't think I'll put any... I guess I could put maybe like a smaller like shacks along here, or maybe even like a market right here. So why don't we use like market buildings for that? So I'll go over here and just grab a market structure, copy paste, move it over here. We could also take one of these shacks right here and use these to create maybe like a shipmaster or harbor master's building for them right there. And then we'll also create kind of a market right here. So let's go ahead and create that market. Make sure I'm set to the right scale, 70. These are a little big. Is this right? What scale is this? 50? Okay. Let's go with 60. I think 60 is a good scale for this. There we go. And we'll just put a couple of buildings here. This should work well. That looks good. Let's go put one on this corner right here. That looks good. And then we can also maybe line some docks along here. Why don't we put like a dock along here like this? Why don't we copy and paste that dock and put another one like maybe along right here like this? There we go. And then we'll also take some of those boats and let's go ahead and ground a couple of them like they've been brought on shore like this. I'm just going to copy and paste a bunch of these, bring them right onto shore like this, copy, paste, put another one here. And just to show that they've been dragged to shore, I'll go ahead and just take like a darker texture of some kind, like this one right here, bring the opacity down. And I'll just go ahead and kind of just paint like these kind of drag marks. Let me make sure that I have the right layers selected. I'm just going to create these kind of drag marks to make it look they've been dragged along the shore. That looks good. There we go. And I'll put maybe the most amount of texture right where the boat is. Like this. There we go. That looks good. Okay. So now you have these boats up along here. Oh, Sober DM, the Insane Asylum. I like that. Yeah, a crane pulley system. There should be cranes. In fact, what might work well is to actually put a couple cranes along here. Love that idea, by the way. That's great. Let's do that. Good call. Why don't we just use these regular cranes here? And what we can do is we'll place one right here at the edge of the docks. And what I'll do is I'll face one, having them rotate that way, one like that. Why don't we also put a couple right here? And then why don't we move the dock master maybe over to here, closer to here, like this. In fact, why don't we overlap it, make some of it on the foundation on the land there, and some of it on the actual foundation there. And then I'll go ahead and take those same cranes and put a couple here, like this. And then we'll move our market over to here instead. Right here, where the majority of the ships are kind of porting here, so that'll make sense. So we'll put some there. That looks good here. And then this right here will be what's called like a loading area. Like this right here, this crane can rotate this way. So we'll turn that into a loading area of some kind. And I'll show you how to put that together. That looks good. Let me go ahead and rotate this, make sure it's lined up properly. Good stuff. Let's go ahead and take some crates. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and just place some crates along here, along here. We're adding a little bit of details. Put some even on the dock itself would be a good choice right there. Maybe half on the dock, half on the concrete there. Maybe some by this person's house, some there. We're going to just throw in these little details. Nice little touches to add in here. That looks good. One there. And then we can even throw some stuff on the ground in the sand here. Like maybe fishermen caught some fish, and so they're boxing it up, putting it in a crate or whatever, and then they're going to move it over to the fisherman's market, whatever it might be. So a little bit of structure there. And then we'll put a couple on the docks themselves, just so they can fit on there. There we go. Okay. All right, so I think that infrastructure right there looks pretty good for the most part. Why don't we expand some of this a little bit more by adding some more of this kind of city blocks here. So I'll go ahead to that. Let me see here. We'll type in red again. There should be these small red buildings. Let me make sure the scale is right. Should be set to 80. Perfect. And I'll go ahead and just kind of place some blocks along here. So that way we can kind of continue to expand a bit of our town here. There we go. That looks good. Okay. And if you ever have a hard time with like trying to find pieces that go well with curves, then I recommend this one right here. I think it's called Small Red Building Clusters. This is a good one because this one has like some curvature to it. So these work well if you want to have blocks that aren't super like blocky. They look a little bit more unique in shape. Then those ones work really well. See how this kind of shape fits right there? You can always kind of do that. So it's kind of helpful to use these kind of blocks. Let's go ahead and have infrastructure just built all along here. There we go. So all along that road, just where you would kind of expect, right? Along the road, you would have your building. So let's go ahead and kind of build that there. That looks good. And then I'll go ahead and put a singular building right here. We kind of keep a second. This is our smaller fisherman's market right here. We can keep that. We can keep this here. That looks good. Why don't we move some things? Let's move this over to here. That looks good. I think right there looks good. And this one looks good here. Thanks for the suggestion for the cranes, the pulleys, and all that stuff. That was a great suggestion, by the way. Good stuff. Let's go ahead and add just a little bit more infrastructure. A couple more buildings, because this is going to expand a little bit. This is part of the town that isn't walled, and that's okay. I think that looks good. And then why don't I actually fill in this space as well? In fact, this piece right here looks like it fits quite well when you look at it. That looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and create those crops now. So we're going to have to build the roads first to frame it. So I'll go ahead and create like a road that goes like right here, straight like this. That looks good. And then we'll put some crops right in here like that. And we'll go ahead and choose this crop right here. Let me just make sure that I get the right scale. Texture scale, let's go ahead and rotate it. Make sure it's facing the right way. There we go. And then I'll just go ahead and fill in this space right here with another crop. If you overlap on the road, no big deal. You just kind of go back to your brush size and just kind of go over it again. There you go. That looks good. And I'll do the same thing here. I'm going to have a little road that goes at the base right here. Maybe I'll have it kind of go down here a little bit. And I'll have a road that goes all the way around, even to this rock quarry. Same thing here. I'm going to build a little bit of a road or a path, and it's going to lead all the way around into that rock quarry there. That looks good. And then I'll put another road that's going to branch off this way like this. And then I can throw in those crops again. So let's go ahead and change the rotation, get it to face the right way. Change my scale a little bit. I'll go ahead and paint that in. So we have a little bit more crop yield, but really the commerce is what's going to make sure that everyone kind of is fed and everything. So we'll go over that. Let's go ahead and place this here. This looks good. Right, I'll even go in here too. Let's place a little bit here as well. And I'll just fill the whole thing up like this, and then I'll repaint that road. There we go. That looks good. It's a little too thick. Why don't we bring the size down a little bit? That looks better. Okay. All right. I think for the most part, that looks good. We've added more crops there. That looks good. You could add some more crops here, but maybe I'll leave that space open. It's just 2 new crops. They're fairly large, so that should act as something. Okay, where are we at for time? 40. We're just going to have to go over the hour mark, because this part, putting together the platform part and then the residential stuff, that's always going to be the most time-consuming part, because the most mass that takes up your city is going to be residential, right? So as I had mentioned before, you should place all of your important infrastructure, your larger buildings and points of interest first, okay? Once you've placed those, then you can go ahead and start placing in your blocks. So what I've done is I've already added all those structures. So what I'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and select a couple things that I want to lock. Select all of those towers. I'm going to go to Alt-L to lock all those. I'm going to make sure that I'm not accidentally selecting anything else. What you notice is a lot of these don't have shadows. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to go Custom Object Shadow. And I'm going to adjust these shadows so that way they kind of pop out. Sometimes your buildings can look flat, and the way to make them pop out more is to add shadows. And one of the big tricks is the taller the building, the greater the drop shadow. So if you want to show that this building right here is quite tall, when you go to your custom shadow, make it a little bit bigger, maybe bring the intensity up. And that will indicate that that structure is taller or bigger because it has a larger drop shadow to it. So it's always kind of remember that when you're putting things together. All right, let's go ahead and do some adjusting. Some buildings and some structures will have to be removed. So what I'll do is I'll probably just remove a lot of the residential stuff that's already there, including that market. We'll readjust the market. I'm going to keep some of these blocks, like right here. This is a nice block structure. I'll keep those. I'm going to remove a lot of the offset pieces that are just kind of randomly set there. And I'll start to kind of keep some of the old town's block structure, and I can kind of use that to my advantage. So I'll go ahead and remove some stuff. I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and get that together. Okay. All right, that's right. Now, everyone who's had their buildings removed, they're going to get moved. And as you know, a city takes a lot of time. It's not like they just plowed over like 100 buildings, right? It's just they did one building at a time, made sure that that resident had a new building, just kind of give it time. People leave. And so we'll go about it that way. And what I can do first is I can start placing some of those platforms. So let me show you how I did it. Just like I used this platform right here to create this kind of stone section, I can do the same thing to right here. So why don't I actually set it at 0 degrees so that way it's easier for me to use the shape tool so I won't make mistakes. I'm going to make sure that I select the right one, which was that platform plus the stone floor. And what I'll end up doing is let me just go ahead and choose this rectangle shape. I'll just go ahead and place it just like that. And we'll flip it real quick. And what's important to note is that if you don't know what blocks to add a platform or a foundation underneath of it, you can kind of follow some of these loose rules. Two things. One, if the building is bigger, it's made of stone, it's really tall, it requires more foundation to make sure that the building doesn't sink and that it's level. So if the building is bigger, it's okay to add a foundation to it. One. Two, the other part is that if it's an important part of the city, it doesn't hurt to add a foundation underneath of it so that way it indicates that, hey, why is this building raised up higher or this block raised up higher than the other blocks? It's because it's also important. So when you're adding these platforms, remember those two rules of thumb. Is it important? And is it big? Does it need a sturdy foundation for it to rest upon? So those things are going to be really important. And what I can do here is I can kind of have some fun. I can go through here and I can go to merge shapes and I can create some interesting foundation pieces. Like for instance, I can create this circle right here. Oopsie, I think. So the reason why that happened, just to kind of help you out here, if I select this right here and I go into my advanced options, I should be able to, be careful. Let me just check here real quick. Let me try it again. See if it does it again. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm going to create this kind of circular shape right here because I want to put a fountain right in front of this structure right here. So I created this interesting circular shape. I can go in, type in fountain, and you notice that I'm working on the foundation of this building in that 0 degrees so that it's easier. Because if you're trying to set a shape at an angle, then you have to go to preview. Let me do it again real quick. So I want to show so you can see it. If I place this structure like this, then I have to go through and rotate it like this to make sure that it's set up right. But if you're set at 0 degrees, then it's a little bit easier just for you to kind of start putting down your line work. So it should be easier that way. So just kind of keep that in mind. I want to make sure that I have that fountain right there in the center. Let's go ahead and rotate that. That looks good. Maybe in each corner, I should add a statue of some kind because we should add something that makes the block more interesting. Let's maybe choose these kind of wizard-like characters. Let's add these guys. One there, one there. Let's flip it so that the staff is facing the other way. One there, one there. So these statues kind of protect the overall structure. Why don't we add a couple more things? Let's go ahead and turn off our merge shapes and let's add another piece. Let's add a circular oval-like shape. It's going to act as like kind of another thing. We'll go to add here. Let's go ahead and bring the scale down. Let's go down a layer. There we go. That looks good. Okay. All right. So now we have these kind of nice shapes kind of building up. I think that looks good. And once you've added that, then you have some choices here. If there's no stairs added to these blocks, then they're not very high up. These are just going to act as like your basic curb with which you could just step right over. But if you want this to be more than a curb, let's say that you want it to be a tall platform, then you're going to want to add stairs Stairs are how you determine whether a platform or something is higher or lower. So you have these platform stairs, and what we can do is we can just kind of take these stairs and kind of just place them, like maybe I want one right there, flip, and put another one right there like that. If they're not lined up properly, I can just select both, then go to align, distribute, center vertically, and those should be now vertically set. And then once you've kind of put that together, then you can create group, call it temple, and then now I can go and rotate it and place it where I want it to be. And then this will also help with setting other buildings around it, because now I've set this block. Now I can put buildings around that block piece, right? So you're starting to get the general concept of how to put it together. So why don't I also create a foundation maybe for this government building? So I'll go ahead and make sure that this is set to either 90 degrees or 0 degrees, whichever direction I want it to face the right way. And I'll start with that foundation again. Remember, I'll go right here. I'll create the foundation. We'll go right over it. Let's go to add. That looks good. Okay, that foundation looks solid. On top of that looks good. Why don't we add a little bit more foundation? Let's go to merge shape. And then why don't I add like a little bit, let's go with maybe making it pop out like this a little bit. And then I can put stairs along that. So if I take my stair right here, I can flip it. And now I have this stair that should lead this way like that. And then I can flip it. And I don't have to have the stair going the same way. Maybe I want to back exit. I notice that there's a stairwell right there. So this stair leads to that point. But what about this stair in the back here? Why don't we also place another stair? And now we've covered all of our bases for entrances, right? So now that I've put that together, I can go ahead and create group and call that Parliament. There we go. So now that I have that piece, I can go ahead and move that over here. Let's go ahead and place that right there. That looks good. Why don't we add some foundations to a couple more structures? Why don't we add a foundation to this one? In fact, I could probably steal some elements from this one. Maybe. Let's try it out. Let's copy paste that one. In fact, you know what? Let's not. Let's just build it straight. Let's go with the right angle here. We'll build it again. Build the right platform. Go to add. That looks good. Why don't we change it up? Let's go ahead and put a platform on this side. There we go. And then I can take that stair piece again, flip, and then we'll put the entrance. We'll put maybe two entrances, one by that piece right here. That way you have two ways to get in and out that way. And then also, why don't we create another stairwell on this side? Let's flip it going this way. Well, actually, let's do it the other way. This way. There we go. That looks good. Okay. And I'll show you some interesting things that we can do as well. You don't always have to build the block first. You can use the line tool and start creating some blocks that kind of, you don't have to use the shape tool, you can use the line tool. And I'll show you that in just a moment. We'll have these structures right here be made from the block. Excuse me, create. And in fact, I'll flip this whole thing so it's kind of facing this way a little bit more. When you do the flip, you'll notice that the shape itself might flip, the stroke, so you might have to change that. Just kind of keep that in mind. I'm going to have to readjust things. Let's go with maybe putting that there. In fact, why don't we actually line up the government building and a lot of these structures with this main hall right here? So what I'll do is I think I'll use a line right here to kind of help me to create the main strip. I'll line that up. That looks good. Line this one up. That looks good. I could also have the cathedral maybe facing this way. I think this works a little bit better. This structure works better. There we go. That looks good. I'm making sure that's lined up properly. That looks good. Cool. I think I like this setup a little bit better. This looks good. Making sure those platforms are on there. This looks good. Okay, where are my other infrastructure buildings? This one right here, this one right here, and that one right there. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. Let me show you what I mean by not using the shape tool. If you want, you can do this. So let me go ahead and place these together, make sure that the stair is facing the right way. You can just use the line tool. If you want, you can place the line like this. Make sure you start at the wall so that way it stays hidden. And then you can go through like this and just follow your shapes like this. We'll go ahead and follow the shape, and I'll go ahead and place another one right there like that. Press enter. Make sure that you go down a couple layers, and then you can create platforms like this. So you see you have another platform like that. So it doesn't have to be an individual building. It can be a whole block that can have that. So then once this block is kind of put together, then I can go ahead and take those individual structures, those individual buildings. I can go in here now and kind of place that and fill out the rest of the block now. So that fits, that one fits there, that looks good. And if you want, you can also do the same thing here. Let's put an auxiliary building right there. Let's put some auxiliary buildings right here, a smaller building there. Why don't we copy and paste this same building? I'll turn off this, and we'll put 2 houses right there like that, just to kind of fill that out. Same thing here, I'll fill that one out. And then you just kind of keep using those to fill out the space. If you have even more open space, then go with the next small size structure, right? Let's go ahead and select all of these tower pieces real quick. I'm going to put them up a layer. They should be taller than the others. All these circular fortifications. Let's go up a layer. That looks good. There we go. And I'll go ahead and use these kind of shed kind of pieces to fill in the negative space. So see how I have all this negative space here? I can fill that in with these smaller pieces. That way your block doesn't seem like it's just 2 buildings, right? You put some extra buildings in to fill in that negative space. So you're getting a lot of that put together. That looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and move this. That looks like a straight shot from there. That looks good. I have an in here, and I have this piece right here. Okay, let's go ahead and start filling in all of the space with the residential, and then we'll use the same method that we did here with the line tool, and we'll just select important blocks that should have these kind of curbs. What I might want to do real quick first is just throw in some stairs. Whenever you put down platforms, you always want to make sure that you put access. So I have to be able to access this, and the best points is wherever you see stairs, right? There's some stairs there. Let's put one there. There's some stairs right there. Why don't we use a different stair and put that right there like that? Okay, same thing here. That looks good. We already have our access points there. That looks good. All right, so our city's coming together. It looks good. Let's go ahead and fill in those block parts. And what I would do is use the larger city blocks, because you should always start with the largest stamps first and then move your way down, just like we did. So I'll put another block like this, and there should be these larger medium red blocks. I think these might work good. Is there anything larger? There are these angular ones as well. Why don't we use both? That one, and then we'll use this one as well, because there's some curve to it. So let's go ahead and add those. So I'm going to add in my buildings here. Let's see how we want to place it. Let's put some buildings there. This has got some curve to it, so why don't we move this a little bit more this way? Kind of follows a little bit more the contour of the wall. And we're just going to keep adding blocks to it. And it's okay if they don't fit perfectly or if they look weird, because remember, you're going to fill in the negative space. Just start with the biggest blocks first, so that way you're not trying to fill in this large space, all these tiny little blocks. That's important. Let's go the same thing here. I'll probably put some blocks in here. Make sure they just fill up as much of the space as possible. Same thing here. I'll probably throw in some blocks to fit in here. Let's go move this one here, and I'll go ahead and move that in closer to the entrance. Where are we at for time here? 55? Perfect. We're going to get this done much quicker than I thought. Let's keep adding in the blocks. Let's go ahead and rotate that one that way. Once you start running out of room with the bigger ones, then start using these kind of smaller pieces to kind of fit into them like this. Find one that fits. It's good. Doesn't look good. You can always rotate it. Make sure that you're facing the right way. I kind of like that right there. That kind of fits okay. Let's go ahead and rotate this one. Nope, I don't know if that'll fit. That's a little too big. I think I can fit that in there. That looks good. Let's go ahead and fit another building right here. That's great. Ooh, this is a good one right here. That fits nicely there. There we go. So it's starting to fill in the space like we had mentioned before. And then we'll go into our even smaller structures. Let's go ahead and use this smaller one right here. Use this one right here. See if we can fit some small pieces. That one fits nicely there. That's a little too big. That one fits. Let's see here. Let's fit that in right there. That looks good. And you'll notice that the pieces kind of come together a little bit as you start to put them together. Let's open up that space, put one there. And then once you start running out of room for the medium-sized ones, then you can start going in with, again, the smaller ones to fill in that space. So then I go in right here and start filling in those spaces just so they can fit in there. That kind of fits in there. And I could kind of just keep filling in these spaces, keep filling in them in. That one fits there, here. And it slowly just starts to come together as you start placing all of these stamps. Let's go ahead and place one there. Remember, the rule is quite simple. It's just start with your biggest stamps first, and then use your smaller ones next. Let's flip that one. That should fit quite nicely right there. I think that fits. We can fit that there. Let me just take a look here. Running out of room here, so we'll have to go into the even smaller structures to start to fit. That looks good. Okay, let's go into even smaller ones. Just use our sheds and shacks to kind of fill in even more negative space. Just wherever you can fit it. Oops, you know what? This has a nice angle to it right there that kind of fits with that platform. That's going to work great. Let's go ahead and put in a little structure there. I'm just going to keep adding as many kind of buildings as I can to fit in those negative spaces to really fill it up. Because remember, the trick to a larger city, which the city is not very large in comparison to other cities, but if you really want it to feel like it's like a mega city, a megalopolis, a really big city, it's all about cramming in as much residential as possible. That's really going to show, hey, that there is quite a few people that live here. That's really the kind of secret that I've used. It's going to keep adding in. I can fit them in here. Lots of little spaces that can fit in here, which is great. There's a space. There's one. This is great. We're filling it in slowly. There we go. Let me take a step back. You see how it's starting to fill in here? It's really starting to grow. And then we've added some level of symmetry to it by creating this straight line that goes between this cathedral, the gatehouse, and that government building there. So just a little bit of symmetry to make it a little bit more interesting and creating contrast between the symmetrical parts of the city and the asymmetrical parts of the city. That part's going to be super important. It's going to really make it stick out more. So I'll just keep adding a couple more structures here. Don't worry about whether or not the streets, if you feel there's not much room for people to move around the streets. If you want a bustling city, you're going to have a lot of space be taken up by buildings. That's going to be kind of important to throw that in there. Let me see here. We're just going to keep going. This is probably the most time-consuming part, as I mentioned before. It's always doing the residential because you're just trying to fill in all this space. But if you follow that method of big, medium, small, then that method won't take nearly as long, and it will fill up the space quicker, which is really helpful because cities can feel overwhelming, and then you don't really want to work on them anymore because you've worked on it so much. You get kind of city fatigue a little bit, which I get sometimes as well. And when that happens, following a method will make it a little bit easier. Won't feel quite as intense. All right, I see just a whole bunch of spaces that I can still use, that I can fill in here. Just try to use as many spaces, as much space as you can to fill this stuff up. I don't think I really care for that structure there, so I think I'll probably use a different one. Not that one. What about that one? And then maybe that looks good. I kind of like that. And then why don't I use a singular building to kind of fill in for that space there? That looks good. Okay. Let's go ahead and maybe create some buildings in the center here. Actually, why don't we want the cathedral, the church, to kind of feel imposing. So I'm not going to create any buildings that are going to kind of obstruct the view of that unless they're really short. Maybe I can put these small buildings in front like this. And it shouldn't be too high up to where you can't see the cathedral, which I think is fine. Let me just take a step back and look at it. You can see a lot of buildings have been added here. There's some negative space in here. I think that's kind of good. Why don't we also create an entrance in the backside as well? Why don't I do that? Let's create an entrance, 2 entrances. for this town hall here. And then I'll also open up this cathedral here, copy and paste, and then put some more entrances on the cathedral as well. That way you can get into the church from this side. So that kind of makes sense. There we go. That looks good. Okay. All right, coming together. All right. So far, I'm satisfied with that. Let's go ahead and add in, I think this open space right here in front of these buildings right here is a great location for a market. First, I'll go ahead and just throw in some last bit of kind of buildings in here. Let's see if I can fit a building in there that fits there. That looks good. And then let's put a smaller one here. We'll have to go back to our sheds and shacks. Let's put one there. Let's not put them there, actually. Back. Okay. All right, that looks good so far. Let me go back and use that line tool, and I'll show you how I kind of go about blocks. Let's go ahead and give everything a shadow first. So that way everything has a shadow. Let's go with custom object shadow. There we go. Everything's got a nice shadow to it. There we go. Add a little bit of blur to it. Now it sticks out. Okay. So just like I did before with this block right here, you can choose certain sections that you might want the block to be higher up. So the way that you can do that again is maybe you want to show maybe this section right here is up a block. Then you can go like this. You can just go in like this and just go underneath these sections right here like this and just follow the contours of the buildings. And if you want some kind of platform section, you can just go ahead and connect these like this, press enter, and then you have a little bit of a platform here. Just make sure it goes down that layer. And so you see you have another platform right there. We can do it again. Let's do it with the shape tool this time because it's not stopping at the wall. This is that thieving type of guild. So why don't we put a little bit of a foundation on that one as well. And then we'll go ahead and, so this is where you can kind of create your thin little city blocks, you know, your little alleyways and stuff. They're kind of shaping these pieces together. So I can go add again, and then I have that. Make sure it might have to go down another layer. And you would use the ones that you would, again, where you would put these blocks are probably going to be the most important type of building. So just kind of remember that. Let's go up a layer for this one. There we go. Push this out of the way. There we go. So you kind of get the general idea on where to put your blocks. It's just whatever's the most important sections. If you've done all your most important sections and you just want to give more height and variety, you totally can do that. So just kind of choose the most important locations and the ones that are the largest, because again, the larger the structure, the greater the foundation, the more foundation it will need. So that will be helpful. Why don't we also do that market like we did before? I'll go ahead and take a market piece, just kind of copy and paste it. And this right here will be our open air market in front of the government building and everything. We're in front of the cathedral part, all of that stuff. So we'll go ahead and throw in these kind of market pieces. That looks good there, here, here. Just throw in a kind of as much as you really want or as much as you need. There we go. That looks good. Let's go ahead and just add a little more space here. One there, one there. That looks good. And you know what? I'll even throw some just kind of randomly. Some here is there. There's a nice little section right here for a little bit of market. I think that looks good. Always good to throw just a couple of these market buildings. Just flow them, kind of just put them here and there. Nice little pieces to kind of have. You can put some inside of your squares if you want. I'll put a couple of them inside the city squares that I have. Let's put one maybe on the corner right here. That looks good. One on that corner might be good. I see some open spaces here. So why don't we put some auxiliary buildings in here? Let's put one there. We'll make our shadows custom object shadow. There we go. That looks good. All right. And some other things that are also going to be really nice to do is you notice that you have a lot of negative space in between these blocks right here. You can go ahead and just use the shape tool, turn off your stroke, choose fill and just choose grass of some kind. Doesn't matter which one you use, it's up to you. I'm going to turn off my merge shape. And I'm just going to go like this, go add, and then you have this nice little green patch. I can just copy and paste that, rotate it, and place it in the little sections where I want some grass to be. So maybe I want these grassy courtyards, and that will also look kind of nice. So I'll put some grass in that one. Let's also put a grass courtyard in this one. That should look more interesting. Copy and paste. Let's do another one. This one right here looks nice. Let's put a grass courtyard in there. And that really adds some more vegetation to it, and that'll definitely make it look more interesting. I see some extra spaces that I want to fill in as well. Like I see so much negative space right here. I'm just going to fill that in as much as possible. Let's go ahead and move this one a little bit this way. We'll move some of these blocks out of the way. That looks good. And then you also want to fill in other things, like maybe you want to put a well. Maybe you want to put a well in your courtyard. Maybe you want to put some trees in your courtyard. So let's maybe put some trees in here. Let's go with right here. Get a tree right inside of that courtyard. This is a pretty large one. Why don't we put some trees in this courtyard? I'll flip it. That sticks out. That looks good. Okay, why don't we also put some trees, some singular trees over by the cathedral right here. Why don't we put them in some interesting locations, like maybe we can put one there, put one here, here. That looks good. Why don't the government building as well? Why don't we put a tree on each corner? That looks nice. Why don't we also place a tree inside of this courtyard? That looks good. Let me just take a step back. This looks good. Right, the city is really kind of coming together now. Our blocks have kind of been placed. You notice that the roads shape themselves. We didn't have to paint in all the individual roads. We just paved the entire ground using the fill. And then that way we don't have to do all this meticulous texturing and painting to kind of get that to fit. The other things that I might want to consider doing is I can expand more of this section over here, which I think we should, because it's closest to the dockyard, and that's where a lot of pieces need to be. I am editing in 4K. It should say right at the bottom, it says saved right here, 4K. All right, let's go ahead and add those blocks I was talking about. Like I'll add some blocks here, and there's some other things I might want to add. I think that looks good. I don't want to get too close to that shoreline there, so I'll just try to place them kind of like this. That looks good. That looks good. Okay, so this infrastructure should be kind of building up, and then you can paint in a little bit of your roads here. That's not a bad idea. I'll bring the opacity down, the size down. I'll just create a little bit of roads that kind of like fit into these sections here. That'll be nice. That looks good. Why don't we also fill in this spot with some roads here. One thing that I forgot to do is maybe add in a staircase that goes up to this platform. So why don't we place one right here like this, going up, and then maybe we'll put another one kind of going down like that. Let's make sure it goes down a layer. This should go up a layer. There we go. That looks about right. Actually, why don't we put one right here as well? This is going to kind of lead to that section, and then we'll put another one, copy paste right here. It kind of leads up this way, and I'll just go ahead and remove these pieces so they're not in the way. There we go. Okay, so now I have all my access points covered. That's good. That looks good. I'm also going to place a couple more farmhouses and kind of smaller buildings along the road here. So I'll place maybe a couple buildings along here. If I have new crops, I'm going to need more farmers. I can even create a larger farmer settlement just right over here like this. That looks good. All right, just adding in those final pieces. And you're going to do this a lot where you went through a step and then you have to do another step and then you have to go back and continue to add things. And it's just, that's the way that cities work. They're not built in a day, right? It's usually going to take a couple hours to try to start to get this feel of getting it right. So just kind of expect that. I'm going to take a step back and just kind of look at it, make sure that I think the city has kind of grown. I've gotten my defenses, I've gotten a religious center, economics, all of those things have kind of put together. I mentioned the lore about those greedy people that want to take advantage of the abundance of the town. And so what we'll do in the next episode is that small greedy few are going to try to create an empire built around their wealth. And they're going to try to expand the city's limits, increase trade so that they can maximize the amount of wealth that they can get. And with that wealth, more control. And what will be fun, we'll do is that we're going to create some foundations that are going to go expand out towards the river, maybe even a large bridge, maybe even some of the settlement will grow out to this side. And just kind of a note, the capital isn't always your largest city. It's generally the most strategic and the most important city, really. It's not always the largest. So even though we are going to make the city, the capital, a little bit bigger, keep in mind that it doesn't have to be your biggest city. You can do that. That's up to you. Okay. All right. Well, I think overall this city came together really well. There's probably more things that you could add, crates and barrels and all that stuff, but you get the general idea on how to put things together and how to create the most important part, which is that depth. How do you get your city to not seem like it's flat? And there are other things that you can do as well. Once we get to the capital bit, we'll start painting in some shadows to really create that three-dimensional feel. But I don't want to paint any shadows until we get the final form of that capital, okay? All right, everyone. Thank you. I had a great time. Hope you have a great weekend. I look forward to the last installment of this series next month. We're going to do shadows. We're going to create more foundations. We're going to expand our city. It's going to be epic. We want it to be an epic city, right? So I'm looking forward to that. So have a great weekend, and I will see you all next week. Please stay safe and healthy and merry map making, okay? Bye, everyone.